Oh, good. We're covering a video game entirely focused on anime girls and loot boxes. What am I doing with my life? This is Nindie Nation episode 162. Greetings, citizens! I'm Jeff, and today we're taking a look at the 16 brand new indie games hitting the Nintendo Switch through the week ending October 16th. You can find more Nindie Nation on Twitter, come hang out with your fellow citizens on Discord, or join us this Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern to check out a parody of Stranger Things and a couple more of this week's new releases during our Nindies at Night stream. I'm really excited about this week. There's way more stuff worth playing than I initially thought. But you know how we do. First, we've got to see what we missed since last week. So hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and let's kick off episode 162 by taking a look at the... I'm not seeing anything worth discussing since last week. Wow, yeah, there's nothing. Okay, these are the 16 new releases hitting the Nintendo Switch through Sunday, October 16th. We kick off the week on Tuesday the 11th with the game whose music you heard at the top of the show. Chili Dog Interactive lines up the shot, and Anti-Pattern Studios lets loose an arrow straight to my trifecta heart with Space Roguelike Adventure for $4.99. And really, we could probably stop there and I'd still at least try it. But we might as well talk about the 2D action across 5 planets that places this indie in a similar category as Rogue Legacy. I'm really hoping the description's sense of humor carries over to the game, because reading about a horse that will neigh you to death and the, quote,
perfect summary of this literary-rich marketing post
is one more reason why I look forward to checking this out on Nindies at Night. Besides, how can I not shine a light on the game that lets us get the week started with procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements? Setting our sights on Wednesday the 12th, Skirmish Mode Games brings all the Red Alert feels with Warpips, published by Daedalic Entertainment for $19.99. After wrapping Steam Early Access back in April, this real-time strategy has received very positive reviews, primarily for its focus on getting you into the action as quickly as possible. Instead of hunting for enemies, farming resources, and developing bases before launching an attack, in Warpips, you just select your loadout from a shop or menu and jump right into what they refer to as tug-of-war style gameplay. The visuals are fun, blending old-school PC assets with chunky pixel characters, and while it's rare to see a successful RTS transition to console, I have a feeling that Warpip's focus on action plus the control options made available by the Switch should line up things nicely for this to be a great port. Alright, this next game, I'm sold. I am so sold on this. If you watch the trailer with its voiceover and backing cover of You Spin Me Round, you'll know exactly what this is. But let me see if I can explain what Epic Llama and ES Digital have in store when they release Unusual Findings for $19.99. Just in time for spooky season, if the name sounds like a riff on Stranger Things...
Get it? Unusual Findings?
Stranger Things. See? Yeah, you get it. Yeah, you get it. Especially you. You definitely get it. Well, you're on the right track. A few average high school kids in a 1980s American suburb intercept a distress beacon from a UFO, and things spiral out of control from there. The whole thing has a campy 80s movie vibe, much more lighthearted than, say, Stranger Things, and I absolutely dig it. Gameplay mostly looks like a classic adventure, and if you have Steam, there's a demo you can try for yourself. For everyone else, though, I got my hands on a copy, and we will definitely be checking it out this Thursday on Nindies at Night. Oh yeah, and speaking of spooky season, last week I teased that we'd have a narrative-focused spooky adventure game, and, you know what? I'll just read straight from the team at Puppet Studio, who releases Bloodwash on Wednesday for $9.99.
Sarah is a pregnant college student living with her alcoholic boyfriend in a rundown apartment complex. To make matters worse, a serial killer targeting pregnant women,
the Womb Ripper,
is terrorizing the city. After her washing machine breaks down, a neighbor tells Sarah about the 24-hour laundromat at the outskirts of town. What she finds there might claim her life.
As I compile these weekly lists, it always strikes me as concerning when a brand new game has a bunch of versions and downloadable content on day one. So my very first impression of Mijuan's The Battle of Polytopia wasn't starting out on a very positive note. This is a 4X strategy game like Civilization that basically adds in Roblox fare to set itself apart. I think. At first glance, I'm not that into it, but considering it has over 15 million downloads and 600,000 active monthly users, including Elon Musk, who says it's his favorite game, I'm guessing the small Swedish team of developers don't really care about what I think. If you want to see what you think about the Battle of Polytopia, you can get started for anywhere between $15 and $36. But don't worry, there are plenty more microtransactions once you get hooked on the game.
That was sarcasm.
And now, citizens, we arrive at Thursday where we've got some potential bangers dropping, and the lineup starts with Trifox, the clever isometric action-adventure by Glowfish Interactive, Kronos Interactive, VAF Games, and Big Sugar for $19.99. At its core, you pick a character and class from the typical warrior, mage, and engineer flavor, and set off to hack and slash your way through Zelda-like levels. You'll explore 4 different worlds of elemental variety, and throughout the adventure can not only unlock a bunch of different abilities, but also leverage a customization system that lets you mix and match class types in a way that feels inspired by class-driven RPGs, like Final Fantasy V or even Final Fantasy Tactics. The game claims to be a platformer first, but the trailers show plenty of combat and, to a lesser extent, some puzzles that will likely drive the type of character that you build. Big Sugar's yet to release a game that I didn't find outstanding, with Slain, Valfaris, and most recently, Unto the End. And even though this colorful, charming, cartoony adventure brings an entirely different vibe than the rest of their portfolio, I have a feeling that Trifox is shaping up to be a great time. Illogica is a studio based in France who typically provides support or porting for other games. Their catalog includes the likes of Cuphead and the complementary titles for Hitman and Tomb Raider. You know, Hitman Go and Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light. So all around great stuff. This week, however, they released their most ambitious project to date, and I am absolutely pumped to check out Atari Mania when it hits the eShop for $24.99. Pitched as a celebration of Atari games, and not to be confused with the also excellent-looking Atari 50 releasing in just a few weeks, this is an adventure wrapped around Atari-themed microgames as you save the past from becoming history. If you happen to love the NES remix titles from the 3DS and Wii U, I think that's the closest comparison to what's going on here. The games, all 150 of them, have been visually updated not to be modern, so to speak, but to all come under a similar visual style that falls somewhere between 8 and 16-bit. And it looks great. The presentation's great too, spanning across 50 years of inspiration, and what music I have heard seems to be just as passionately crafted as the rest of this package. This is a title I definitely plan to pick up, but unless we can get a copy for Nindies at Night, I'll probably wait for reviews and a sale. That said, I've been itching for another NES remix or WarioWare type game as I mentioned last week, so if it pans out well, I might cave regardless. Personally, I would love to see Atari Mania be the kick in the pants Nintendo needs to finally give us an SNES remix, but what do you think? We also see the release of Paradise Marsh, and if Atari Mania is all about fast-paced action and high scores, Paradise Marsh could be considered the polar opposite. With a visual style reminiscent of A Short Hike, solo developer Lazy Eddie or Etienne Trudeau plops you into a chill world where the stars have fallen out of the sky and you, collect bugs. With no semblance of quest markers or fail states, it is firmly planted in the cozy category. And it just kind of lets you wander around, meet characters, pick flowers, and use your net to catch bugs. The sound design is by Disaster Piece, who previously worked on Fez, so it's safe to assume the vibe will be top-notch. And for $9.99, it looks like a well-rounded package guaranteed to help you chill out for a bit. Cubite Interactive is back on their retro release kick that's been fueled by Pico Interactive. And next up for $5 is Tinhead, a lesser-known adventure platformer from the 16-bit era. It's not too different from the barrage of mascot platformers that flooded Blockbuster Video back in the day, but it is one of the better of the bunch. So if you're in the mood for a classic side-scrolling weekend game, Tin Head should fit the bill nicely. And then 7 Levels releases Football Cup 2022 for $14.99, and I'm probably the last person you want to hear from about this game. It seems to have a lot of modes and features, and overall, I guess it looks fine. It is weird that there's no multiplayer, though. For a sports game, that's something people usually like, right? If you happen to be looking for an October spooky fix, Fummy and Dangan Entertainment have modernized their 2012 RPG Maker release with The Witch's House MV for $14.99. Aesthetically, it looks like an early PlayStation title, back when RPGs were more like upgraded Super Nintendo games, and features a young girl who gets trapped in a spooky mansion. The gameplay relies heavily on puzzles and jump scares, and the description is quite boastful in just how gory and violent all the sudden death scenes can get. Last week I mentioned an upcoming cyber ninja hack and slash, and the more I see of Fallen Knight, the more I want to try it out. If you're familiar with the series at all, it is abundantly clear that Fairplay Studios is taking a lot of inspiration from Mega Man Zero and Azure Striker. I mean a lot. You can pick between a couple of characters with different melee weapon types, and then you battle your way through levels to reach the boss at the end of each. There's upgrades to seek out and a moveset that's meant to keep you moving aggressively through waves of enemies that encourage you to get up close and in the middle of the action. Development was supported by the excellent team at DigiPen, and P-Cube handles the publishing of Fallen Knight, bringing it to the eShop for $14.99. Now, please, allow me to walk you through my internal monologue when I was researching Temp Zero. It went something like this.
Oh, it looks like asteroids. But wait, there's a little dude with a sword. Oh, it's got guns, too. So it's kind of a top-down dungeon crawler. Wait, hold on, he died. Oh, and there's upgrades? Ooh, I like that. Man, this music is great. I'm kind of coming around on the... Yeah, okay, this game looks great, yeah.
So anyways, Temp Zero, developed by Alexander Kadri and Paul H, is chock full of top-down arcadey action with simple visuals and a bumpin' soundtrack. It looks like it may have roguelike elements, and honestly, it might include all of the pieces of a trifecta, but I can't find confirmation of that anywhere, so I'm not gonna do the thing. I do want to play this and find out for myself though, and for $9 it's quite tempting. In fact, you know what? Just in case it does include all the things, we'll let the kids have their fun. Go ahead, children. There are few things more rewarding than finding a little game that shows big promise, and while I have some reservations, I've got really high hopes for Witchcrafty. This adorable pixel art release takes some cues from Celeste, but is more of a sprawling adventure with combat as well as the tough platforming and air dashing that was so prominent in Celeste. Pigeon Dev says it includes, quote,
small Metroidvania elements,
which makes me think it's a mostly traditional affair with a bit of backtracking made possible as you learn new abilities and spells. It's published by Sometimes You, who's really been pumping out solid titles as of late, and with a modest 20% discount at launch, $7.99 makes Witchcrafty a Halloweeny game that trades the spookiness for charm. And as we round the corner to Friday the 14th, let's take a quick breather to make sure you're aware of some of the speed bumps you may want to avoid along the way. Published by a team whose name sounds less like a game developer and more like the cream you'd use to treat an itchy skin boil, Astragon
that's nasty.
delivers Bus Simulator City Ride, which I swear has been a Nindie no-no on almost every episode of Nindie Nation. Weakfish Studio claims Froggy World is a 2D platformer game, but they also claim
Frog! Yes, Frog!
Winter Games 2023 started out in the regular weekly lineup, mostly because of its $40 price, but as soon as I watched the trailer for this latest title by Wild River Games, it was firmly planted here. And just like there's a subreddit for any topic you could ever imagine, Ultimate Games has a janky budget simulator for every activity you could imagine. This week, Aquarist taught me that's what you call a person who runs an aquarium. And while Matt Experiment's escape game does look better than Regista's escape room games, I just can't with this. As for your weekly dose of horny underage anime girls, Cyberstep has a bunch of them making that obligatory moaning face in Isekai Tragic Love, and
Look who's heaven!
puts them in a school and has you profess your love to them before meeting your daughter from the future?
What the hell is wrong with you people?
You can avoid Silesia's release of
Vanek
2, that's for sure. But the winner this week is none other than Epic Games, who set out to create something that seems explicitly tuned to infuriate gamers like me the world over. One day, historians will consider Loot Box Simulator RPG Anime Girls Switch as the beginning of the end for modern civilization. We've only got 2 more games to wrap up the week, but both of them are, well, look, Agelvik is a solo developer who makes bizarre little games. Apple Slash was pretty cool too, it's just hard recommending the purchase of a 20-minute game. I bet there is some merit to this week's release, but the latest from their partnership with Roguelike Games is Goddamn the Garden. It brings to mind a famous quote from one of the most infamous works of voice acting in video game history.
What is this? What is it? What is this?
What is it?
What is it?
First person to tell me what that's from wins a free game. Okay, start with Donkey Kong Country, change the main character to a fat bee who can't fly, structure the whole thing around platforming vertically, going up rather than to the right, and that's basically what you get with Beanie. Honestly, the more I looked into this game, the more it won me over. Diplodocus Games definitely has a method to their madness, as the Tori 3D games were surprisingly well received, though I think that's more because they were only $1 each. Either way, that's the same approach they're taking this week, as Beanie wraps up the new releases for 99 cents. Not gonna lie, when I started working on this week's episode, I knew I was gonna be into Trifox, Fallen Knight, and Witchcrafty, but I really didn't expect to find games like Atari Mania, Temp Zero, Unusual Finding, and Space Roguelike Adventure. So there's a lot speaking to me this week. Let me know what's speaking to you, because there's enough here to make this week something of a treasure trove for hidden gems. For Nindies at Night, we'll be checking out Unusual Findings, and maybe if it's good enough, we could actually play through it for the rest of October. Anyone down for something like that? I'm also thinking Fallen Knight and Trifox look like good ones to try out on stream, and you know I'm all about Space Roguelike Adventure. But there's a lot of options, so if you plan to join us this Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, tell me what you want to see. You can also find Nindie Nation on Twitter, and we welcome anyone and everyone to join us on Discord. Unless you're an asshole, then don't. Oh, and if you happen to be playing Guardian Tales, I'm completely hooked on that game and have made a Nindie Nation guild, so look us up there too. Next week, I get to fly my brony flag high as Them's Fightin' Herds finally releases, but there's also a brand new Jackbox Party Pack and one of the weirdest games we've ever covered, which, as you know, is really saying something. So I hope you come back next week for episode 163, because we're all done for today. Thanks so much for watching, liking, and subscribing. And a huge thank you to everyone who shares Nindie Nation with others. We saw a noticeable impact last week, so know that your efforts are sincerely appreciated. Until next week, I'm Jeff. This has been Nindie Nation episode 162. And remember, no matter what type of game you're looking for, Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.